Hello YouTube, this is Mickey D back again with another episode of Stationeers. And, hang on one second because I forgot to link the chat. So, there we go. That should, hey, there we go. All right. Hey, Michael. So, as I try to do between every stream, I save the world, shut down the client, and then let it sync up. And there was an update. And supposedly they have, there was a couple comments on the update that they fixed the atmospherics. So hopefully that means radiators are fixed, which we'll have to find out if we actually see it cooling or not. Which, no, it's still going up. So it doesn't look like they are fixed. Shoot. I will have to change the title. We'll check over here. Since this one seemed to be a little bit closer, and it's still at 15. It's not cooling, it doesn't look like. Yeah, because that should be dropping, especially with the amount of radiators on there. So unfortunately it doesn't look like they are fixed. We could try doing one thing real quick, and that is break the line. And put it back, which sometimes makes the system update. And sometimes will magically make stuff start working, which it doesn't look like because it's not dropping. We could try, oh, it's going to lock it out because there's nothing running. All right, so obviously they are working on the atmospherics, and hopefully they will be fixed soon then. Nice that there is other time zones because, it's, for me, it's 9 o'clock on a Sunday. So hopefully they will get those straightened out here tonight. And yeah, it doesn't look like, because this one should definitely be cycling, which is going to take it a while to drop if once they do get it fixed. But all right, anyway, so, and I did do a quick check between the episodes. So I guess the crowd tube has no use whatsoever right now. It's basically just to make replacement organs. It's not for respawn or anything. So we might want a couple of those in here, so we can have different organs growing. The sleeper bed, I did look up, and I found a diagram on how that is supposed to be hooked up. So it's kind of a funky setup on it. And let me see. I want to see if they've had anything on. I want to see if there's been any. Yeah, no, I don't see anything on that. Okay. And I'm leaving a comment real quick on the forums that it's because we've got a thread open for it on the okay. All right, and there we go. All right, so we need to add. How do we want it? It's weird. This is like machine is set up differently than every other one in the game. So as I try to do, I want to fix this before we move on to the gas generator. So we'll take care of this real quick. It should be a relatively simple fix, but we're going to need a little bit of space to do that. So we're going to move the cryo chamber over a little bit. And honestly, we don't even really need the sleeper, I guess, for... Yeah, we'll move it over there. For where we're at right now, it's more of a multiplayer thing. But you never know. They, they might add some more use to it. I could see it being a way to heal. So we'll just move this. We'll hook this up real quick. And we basically just got to throw a filter in. And hopefully, I think we're going to have to move that line a little bit too, but it should be pretty quick and easy. To get this wired up the way we need. I'm not even going to worry about hooking data up to that for now. Let me put those up here, get them out of the way. All right, move our junction. I have a feeling I'm still going to have to move this line again, but all right, let's go get the, so we need to have a filter unit, and I believe we need to, yeah, we need to pull out the CO2 basically, and I think we have, first of all, we'll top off our wiring. I think we have a CO2 filter. I didn't mean to quite drop it right there. All right. So we need, let's check. We might actually have an atmospherics. No. Okay. So we'll get the atmospherics made. And then we can hook that up real quick. And then we'll jump over to the gas generator. It kind of sucks. I was really hoping when I saw the update notes that the radiators were fixed. So basically we need to throw a filtration unit in here, and let me see which ones. Waste, output. So what we might do is push this one forward that way, I think. Because we want output, and yeah, it's kind of a weird setup. Definitely. Oh, you know what we can do? I think we can turn the bed. I think that'll work. And we can set it up like this. Ooh. We can set it up this way, which will move that that line. Straight cable right there. Okay, yep, everything should be, yeah. All right, so what we'll do is we'll just set it, I think we'll set it right there, which will probably actually work better because there's our power button right there. And then that way maybe we'll have some cryo tubes right there. And filtration. Let's see, output, waste, input. So we have our storage line coming in. Yeah, I don't know how I really like how they have this set up. They really need to add like a back filter, or or a back pressure valve, so that you can't run, like a check valve. So according to what I'm seeing is, which this is what I don't like now, because there's no way to keep that from contaminating the system. So if we have, this would be our output. That doesn't really... So if we do our output and our waste, no, that's not how we're going to want that. So if we turn it around this way, which is not going to work right there, but we have our input, so runs out our output, and then our waste. Okay, so that won't contaminate the system. And it'll give us a source of CO2. We're going to have to do something with the tubing, though, because that's not really going to work like that. Oops, I didn't need to pull that up. Okay. So, we're going to want to run that down. And I think what we'll do is we'll do a T here. We got to get our piping in, our electrical lines in there. So if we put this on a T, and we do a corner. So there's our input. There's our output. And yeah, so we can do that. And that will let us run our wires over there. That's our waste, which is going to go out. And then we need to, oh, autosave. Hey, now the autosave's showing back up again. Okay. So, kind of a weird setup. I mean, not really set up like anything else in the game. There we go. So there's our oxygen line coming in. It'll run through. It'll pull into here. It will pull into here. That can still contaminate the system. I don't like that. I wonder if we can use a pressure regulator. So there's our filtration output. There's our filtration input. Can we change that and still have it work? So filtration output, run in. That's going to pull in. Yeah, it's going to be the same thing. Because, yeah, we can get our CO2 out of there, but we don't want it tying back into the system like that. Oh, hang on. I've got our phone call. Okay, sorry about that. I'm back. I've got company in my driveway for a minute. Um, so what I'm gonna do, and I think this will work, is so this line's gonna go back to the filtration system. So we'll run that and tie that in, which we were gonna do a return bin anyway. So we'll just put it over here, or actually we can tie it in up above because that ties into the CO2 line for the greenhouse. So that would work fine. And honestly, it's only going to generate CO2 when we're inside of it. The problem is so this is our O2 line coming down, which is going to go over to there, which I'm assuming needs O2. And it's going to come into here. It will come into here. This is what makes it a mess, is that we've only got one pipe that's basically intake and output on this machine, opposed to every other machine which has a separate intake and output. Um, so if we run our oxygen in here, if this was a regular tube, we'd run our oxygen in. If CO2 is coming out, it's going to come through and basically contaminate our whole entire O2 system, which we definitely do not want. Um, because the way it's supposed to be set up is if this was tied into a separate system, then it would just loop through as you breathed out the CO2. It would come through, vent out the CO2. So what I'm going to do is put a pressure regulator in here, and it should keep anything from being able to backflow. So we're basically going to use it as a backflow preventer. kPa should turn to force looping. Oh, to have it. Well, it's the same thing. We're still going to have to use some type of pressure regulator in it. But the pressure regulator won't let anything come backwards. So yeah, we'll set this to like 50, which is, fine because obviously that's what our suit's at. It can run through any CO2 that comes back out. Even if it jumps at above 50, the pressure regulator is not going to let it come back through. It's just going to care that it's not below 50. As we use the CO2, it'll top it off to 50. As we use the O2, it'll top it off to 50 if we actually ever use the machine. So I think, oops, we didn't want that one. I think that should work. It's still, kind of weird that this is, as far as I can think of, pretty much the only machine in the game that, um, barring the cryotube, that does not have an input and an output. You know, there's nothing else we've had to set up like this. And let's see if we've got all of our mess. I think so, yes. And we need the line. So we'll run a straight line down, straight line down. We shouldn't need any data on this, at least for now. We might later on set it so that it reads off of this, and if this is not occupied or on, then it shuts this off because that'll just save us power. So it wouldn't need to be on while we're not using it. And then if we look up here, okay, this line ties into the greenhouse. So we can definitely dump CO2 in there without issue. And we just got to get more piping. And we can't walk through the wall sections. All right. And even if for some reason we had some other type of contamination in the system, where this dumps into the greenhouse, it would get picked up by the greenhouse filter, which is basically just keeping CO2 in the greenhouse, and that's it. So placement of this room here works out quite well. we can run that up there because the wall will hide it. There's not really a point to tie that into. Okay, and we should be able to change that to a corner. There we go. All right, there we go. That'll tie that in. And that'll be good, because maybe I'll just start whenever I'm affacking in the base for whatever reason. Maybe I will... oh, that is true. Yes. Yes, so it'll always be CO2. Yeah, so we don't have to even worry about that, really. And which it shouldn't anyway. I mean, it shouldn't generate anything anyway, because we are, you know, it's basically whatever we exhale, which will be CO2. And why are we... There should be more steel plates around here somewhere. Did I forget to... we're too short. I think I actually had a section of the wall not filled in. Unless I stuck... Nope. I think that back corner in there, I didn't have that one filled in. Which was fine, because it's inside anyway. But I try not to miss ones. I do find one occasionally that I've accidentally skipped. And I was kind of worried about that when I stuck in all the wall panels before. So we should just need a back pressure regulator and, or well, a pressure regulator. I still like to have some type of check valve so we don't, because those you can run without. They don't require power, and basically it just are backflow preventer, you know, whatever you want to call it, same kind of thing. And oh, good, the power is actually going to go the way we want to. Yeah, we'll just set it at 50. It's usually, you know, you place something like that down and nothing kind of lines up with the way you need it to, but it works out this time. Oop. Okay, so now if we check this, the line's actually empty. Okay. We are actually... Now, we're actually going to get oxygen and nitrogen off of this now that I think about it. Because that's tied in after our mixer valve, which hopefully should be fine. We'll have to see if it acts like the spacesuit or not, where it wants 100% O2 environment. Or if it's going to allow us to have oxygen and nitrogen in there. If it does, we can move that line to be a couple back. Oh, between the tanks. Yeah, that's actually a really good idea. Right now, the which that is actually a really good idea. Yeah, I could do that for each tank. Because that was the other thing I was looking at before, is they don't, you know, there's no intake out and output. You know, it's basically acts as a pressure tank. But you're right, adding a back pressure and a regular regulator would do that. So that is a definite change I want because haven't really worried about it yet, but our O2, especially once the greenhouse is up and running, we are getting, kind of close to the max there. We've got a little ways to go, but that is, something I knew we were going to have to address at some point. Um, yeah, so for now, we will leave this all off because we don't even have the base pressurized. Um, and which we could pressurize the line. There's no reason not to now. We just don't want to open the vents yet, since we're going to have to tear into the walls here in a little bit for the generator. But very nice, that'll work. I kind of like the setup better there because it's a lot easier to get to it. And then that leaves us some room if we need to expand this out. If we want a couple more of these, it won't be in the way. Yeah. So that will probably work pretty good. And my welder's not on, is it? Oh, I think we're just getting that temperature glitch. Yep. Where we welded earlier. All right, so that finishes off the sleeper then. It gets that all pretty much set up. Like I said, the only thing we'll have to check now is whether or not it will let us do the oxygen-nitrogen mix. If it doesn't, then we can change that. Or we could just add another filter in here for the nitrogen. It can dump the nitrogen in the greenhouse, and then the greenhouse filtration will pick up the nitrogen and dump it into the regular filtration system. So either way would work. Yeah. Okay. And where are we at? Okay, I am going to actually end this episode here. For one, because, well, we figured out radiators are still broken. And for two, we ended up messing with the sleeper, which I wasn't planning on. And yeah, it looks like temperature's still, yeah, they're not fixed yet. I'm pretty sure we were at 128 or 1,228 on that or so. So we've climbed on there. And this one we're probably not going to see. Yeah, so it's not cooling because that system's not even doing anything. Oh, it's gonna when it ties in, it'll tie in onto the input side of the batteries, so that'll be fine. And I've got I've got company that just showed up that'll be here for about 10 minutes, and then I'll kick off that episode. So yeah, basically we're gonna pull out the generator. The generator ties in on the input side on these. And we should be able to dump right in there. As far as I know, the batteries, yeah, we shouldn't need to limit that. Yeah. Yeah, so we can dump that in. The batteries won't care. Is that what your it won't is? Because I believe they shouldn't care, since they'll pretty much take any voltage they can get, as much as max voltage as they can. But it is separate. We do have our input and output sides separated, so we can dump right in, and then because this, for one, is I'd rather not use coal, but we are to the point now where we're using. And I think it's mainly because the ACs are broken. So the greenhouse one is trying to run constantly. And what I should do, which I haven't done yet, is this is another logic thing, which we'll probably get to in an episode or two, is I need to add the pressure override onto this like I have for the main base. That way I can depressurize. You talking about the heavy transformer? Oh, okay. It's going to overload the wiring, is what you're saying. Oh, okay. Yeah, we'll add a transformer then. Okay, I get it. I thought you were saying I thought you meant coil is in the transformer, but okay, you're talking about the cabling. Um, yeah, so we can throw, and I think we actually already have one made. Yeah, right there. Because I ended up not needing it for the setup that I did earlier. Um, but we'll call this good for this episode. A little bit shorter than I usually do. Well, I end up usually doing an hour and a half, but we're about 40 minutes right now. So I'll just rename this one basically sleeper setup, and we will pick up in about 10 minutes on the getting the generator hooked up. And then after that, I think we're going to be basically on to logic circuits. We've got a few systems that we got to make tweaks on, and we've got a few more logic systems to add. We do got to get the suit rack hooked up too, so um, which luckily we have oxygen input, waste, all that kind of stuff right there. Oh, okay. Well, have a good night. I'll be streaming for another few more hours, so might have a couple of streams to watch when sometime tomorrow. All right. I hope everybody enjoyed the episode. And like I said, I'll be back in about 10, 15 minutes with episode 49, and then we will be working on the grass generator. Okay. Have a good night.